Is your favorite celebrity as nice as they seem? It might surprise you. Here are celebrities who tried to warn us about their co-stars. Wesley Snipes has made a name for himself as an incredible action star, in demand for his skill set in acting and martial arts. But he was soon out of demand once word got around of his on-set actions while working on Blade 3. But long before that, there were already some pretty major accusations connected to his name. Halle Berry shared in a 1996 interview with People that she has experienced unkind romantic partners in the past. She claimed that one former partner had caused her to go about 80% deaf in one ear, and many believe it was Snipes. Berry has never confirmed who the partner was, but one of Berry's former exes tweeted out that she had told him that it was Snipes. However, this should be looked at with a critical eye, since that ex in question was also accused of harming Berry. Snipes and Berry dated in 1990 for a short period after working together on Jungle Fever. When Berry was filming Strictly Business while dating Snipes, a production assistant claimed she was crying all the time. So no matter what happened between Snipes and Berry, the relationship was not a good look for him. It came out later that he can be equally as hard to work with on set. While working on Blade 3 alongside Ryan Reynolds, Snipes allegedly stayed in the Blade character the whole time. Reynolds is of course a known jokester, so that, mixed in with the stoic nature of Blade, is hilarious on screen, but wasn't so hilarious in person. It probably didn't cause too many problems though, since Snipes was allegedly rarely on set. They allegedly let Reynolds improv a lot in the film simply because his scene partner wasn't there. Snipes also allegedly only communicated with the director via post-it notes. All this definitely led to an interesting movie. Sandra Locke's career in the 70s was huge, and she wasn't just an actress, but a director too. She starred in films alongside Clint Eastwood, and the pair hit it off and dated for quite a while. Unfortunately, the pair would break up in 1989, and the aftermath dragged on for a few years, leading to disaster for Locke's career. Eastwood had more pull in Hollywood than Locke did. Soon Locke wasn't getting much work. While it has never been confirmed, many people, including Locke, believe that Eastwood had a hand in this unofficial blacklisting, because after the breakup, her working life went up in flames and his was completely fine. It wouldn't come out until years later that Locke wasn't the only woman Eastwood had allegedly mistreated. Before dating Locke, Eastwood was married to Maggie Johnson, and according to Eastwood's friend, Fritz Maines, he didn't treat her very well. In the book, Clint, The Life and Legend, there is a quote from Maines about how Eastwood mistreated his wife one time, knocked her clear from the living room into the tub in the bathroom, is what it reads. Eastwood denies these claims, and him and Johnson are apparently still friends, actually, and celebrated holidays together years later, according to their children. So do with this info what you will. Charlie Sheen, who you may know from 2.5 Men, has a confirmed history of not being very nice to his partners. Actress Denise Richards let us know who this man is a long time ago. In May of 2006, she filed a restraining order against her husband, Charlie Sheen. The pair had 2 young children together, and according to the order, Sheen could only see the children if it was a supervised visit. Otherwise, he had to stay 300 yards away from them and their mother, Denise Richards, at all times. The reason Richards had to get the restraining order in the first place was because Sheen allegedly said some violent things to her and handled her roughly. Similar situations would happen later on in Sheen's career with different women. Isaiah Washington had all the potential to make it big until he made some controversial public comments and threw it all away. Washington starred as Dr. Preston Burke on Grey's Anatomy. He also had a number of film credits under his belt before that. Then, as he was filming the drama, everything went wrong. According to the book by Lynette Rice, How to Save a Life, The Inside Story of Grey's Anatomy, a fight between Washington and Patrick Dempsey broke out on set, causing the domino effect that led to Washington's firing. According to interviews in the book, one of the men was late to set one day, so the next day, the other decided to get payback and be late. Tensions got high, and soon the 2 men were brawling in studio. Washington apparently pushed Dempsey up against a wall and began shouting in his face, and it wasn't until Washington used a negative term to describe gay people that the fight stopped. The word was used in context of another actor in the show who was known to be gay. Washington ended up apologizing, but then used the word again at the Golden Globes. One of his co-stars, Katherine Heigl, spoke about this as her friend was the person being called names. She said, "I'm going to be really honest right now, he needs to just not speak in public. I mean, Every time he did at the time, it just made everything worse, so was she really wrong? Even years later, Washington is using his voice to advocate for causes he believes in, but every once in a while he says something that completely misses the mark. That, or he's bringing up his departure from the show again. Jeanette McCurdy dropped some info about Ariana Grande in her book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. Jeanette and Ariana work on the Nickelodeon show Sam and Cat together. It was supposed to be a hit. However, right as they were filming season 1, Ariana's music career started to take off, and suddenly she wasn't on set much. McCurdy's book details how Grande used to regularly miss filming. According to the book, Ariana was missing filming to go sing at award shows, record new songs, and do press for her upcoming album, while, in her own words, McCurdy said she had to angrily hold down the fort. McCurdy does admit that a lot of her ill will towards Ariana was rooted in jealousy. She was jealous of the fact that Ariana was able to miss filming and McCurdy hadn't had the same opportunity to do this when she had asked in the past. McCurdy writes that she had to turn down 2 features she had booked while working on iCarly because the team for the show wouldn't write her out of the episodes so she could film the features, whereas Grande would sometimes miss up to a week at a time. Rebecca Ferguson caught the attention of internet sleuths when she tried to warn us about a former co-star. Ferguson revealed that she was once screamed at on set by an unnamed but famous actor. Fans were quick to scour her past films and point fingers. Many fingers were directed at Hugh Grant. TV host and actor Jon Stewart did let us know that Grant's on-set behavior wasn't the nicest in a 2012 interview. Stewart said the actor would never be welcome back on the show that he had been working for at the time. He also said Grant was giving everyone grief the whole time and he's a big pain. Grant himself has actually admitted to on-set tantrums. In an interview with Total Film magazine, Grant admitted that while on the set of the new movie Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, he lost his temper with a woman in his eye line on the first day of filming. He said, I assumed she was some executive from the studio who should have known better. Then it turns out that she's an extremely nice local woman who was the chaperone of the young girl. Terrible, a lot of groveling. We don't know if Grant is the one who yelled at Ferguson, but Grant himself has admitted that Renee Zellweger is one of the few actresses he hasn't fallen out with, so there is that. The iconic photo of Nicole Kidman walking out of the courthouse after divorcing Tom Cruise, it's a meme, need I say more, it just has a feeling attached to it. I don't think I have ever seen someone look so free and happy to be alive. Tom, what did you do to warrant this level of joy at being divorced? Apparently, at the time, Kidman thought everything was going well with their marriage. They had 2 adopted children, so when she got the divorce papers, she was shocked. Cruise said it was due to irreconcilable differences, but Kidman later told People our life together was perfect. Kidman did continue saying, that was a great relationship, I think it ran its course. She hasn't shared much about the marriage, stating that it helped her feel safer in Hollywood. No one would dare cross such a big star by hurting his wife. And the 11 years that they were married were important for them and their kids. The Don't Worry Darling press tour, it was the gift that kept on giving. What do you mean Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine? What do you mean the lead actress allegedly had a feud with the director? Florence Pugh was pretty absent during the film's premiere at the Venice Film Festival, but she did make a red carpet appearance, notably staying away from the film's director and her co-star Olivia Wilde. While Florence hadn't gone on record explicitly saying anything, her silence was just as loud. Pugh seemed super excited about the project when she first signed on, posting multiple times online expressing this, but when it came time to promote the film, she barely said anything. If she did, she almost always left Olivia Wilde out of the conversation. The few times Pugh had spoken about the film, it seemed like she was contradicting something Wilde said. A big sore spot that came up even before filming started was around the casting of Shia LaBeouf. LaBeouf had been accused of quite a few bad things by ex-FKA Twigs, and Florence allegedly did not feel comfortable working with him. At first, Olivia came out saying that she agreed and that's why he was fired. However, LaBeouf came forward and basically said Olivia was lying, sharing screenshots and a video from Wilde that made it seem like she was actually on his side. Around when these got released, Florence confirmed she would not be promoting the film with Wilde. There was also this rumor floating around for a while that Florence allegedly took on more directorial duties during filming, as Wilde was preoccupied with Harry Styles. That is yet to be, and probably never will be, confirmed. James Franco has found himself in hot water as 5 women have come forward accusing him of inappropriate misconduct, but we should have seen this coming if his past behavior on film and TV sets is anything to go by. Busy Phillips let us know the kind of person James Franco is from the beginning. The two worked together on the 1999 TV series Freaks and Geeks, and apparently neither enjoyed it. Busy claims Franco acted like a bully on set and once shoved her to the ground. Allegedly, while filming a scene where Busy lightly hit Franco on the chest, Franco, not in character anymore, grabbed Busy, screamed in her face, and then threw her to the ground. Allegedly, he was forced to apologize by the directors and producers, but not a good look for him. And finally, we have Patrick Stewart warning us about James Corden years before Corden was cancelled. It's no secret that the talk show host is no longer as loved as he once was, partly due to oversaturation of media, but also due to stories about the way he behaves when the cameras are off. Today, we have heard stories of Corden screaming at restaurant staff and acting in a rude manner, but Patrick Stewart called out Corden for this behavior a long time ago at the 2010 Glamour Awards. Corden was hosting the event, and according to Stewart, he wasn't doing a good job. As Stewart went up to present an award, he turned to Corden and basically told him to get his hands out of his pockets and look interested. Corden did answer that in the moment, saying, "Oh, you couldn't be more wrong, sir. You couldn't be more wrong, genuinely. And if it looked like that, I'm so sorry, but when you come up and present an award, just get on with it." The tone he used wasn't super nice, so Stewart did retaliate, and then it just got awkward. But years later, Corden has found himself on celebrity hate lists for similar behavior to this, so Stewart called it. The best list you could be on in Hollywood is a cast list, but some unlucky folks have found their way onto the blacklist, and former co-stars may have been the reason they landed there. From Clueless to Grey's Anatomy, these are the top 10 actors who got their co-stars blacklisted. Stacy Dash is a face you might recognize from the hit film Clueless. She managed to make her career crash and burn in a fashion that is almost impressive. Dash starred as the sassy, fashionable best friend to Cher in the 1995 film and was well loved by fans of the film. She did a great performance. That is her most notable role, but she had many other film and TV credits around this time. Some highlights from the fall of Stacy Dash include her saying that Black History Month shouldn't be a thing and that transgender people should go to the washroom in bushes in 2016, referring to other actors inappropriately when they try and speak up against racial injustices. That just happens randomly. She also claimed feminism is ruining men. She kind of blacklisted herself with every action she has committed in recent years. Though she has apologized for things she has said and done in the past, she is still not getting much work in Hollywood. Rebecca Ferguson has just given a killer performance in the second Dune film, and while on the press tour, she might have also killed another actor's career if she had revealed their name. Rebecca Ferguson is one of the internet's favorite actresses right now for good reasons. She seems very grounded, smart, sweet, and just is a really good actress. So when she dropped in a recent interview that she had once been screamed at on set by an unnamed former co-star, people were quick to start combing through her films in search of the culprit. People were taking this very seriously, as Rebecca also said the encounter made her cry. The leading theory is that it was Hugh Grant that had screamed at her. People would back this theory up online with past stories from his co-stars and people who worked on set with him about how he was rude and difficult. That actually caused him to not get fully blacklisted when he was younger, but it did make him lose out on a couple roles. He did claim that the movie Did You Hear About the Morgans caused opportunities to dry up for him, claiming that Hollywood gave me up because I made such a massive turkey with that film with Sarah Jessica Parker. Whether I wanted to or not after that, the days of being a very well-paid leading man were suddenly gone overnight. It's unclear if he was the one who yelled at Ferguson, but he did for sure yell at a woman while working on the set of the movie Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Star of the 1930s, Mae West was an absolute bombshell of the era. She was known for her suggestive performances and outfits and overall bold depictions of being a woman and the female body. She was blacklisted by a pretty unexpected co-star, the Production Code Administration, or PCA. The PCA was created to censor media to uphold strict moral guidelines. It was the 30s after all. It was used to adjust American media, and that is where Mae West operated, due to her performances always having a hint of something they shouldn't. According to the PCA, many of them were censored. She was censored so many times that it was easier for a studio to just not hire the star in the first place. She was actually temporarily banned from the screen at one point. She did find a few roles through the 1940s, but from 1943 to 1960, there was little work for her on screen. It was the 1960s and 70s that took her off that blacklist again, and she made a few more films before passing in 1980. Thora Birch made a name for herself in the 1993 film Hocus Pocus as young Danny Dennison. She then began starring in various TV shows and movies and even on Broadway, but it was a 2010 Broadway contract that would cause her to lose everything. While working on the 2010 off off-Broadway revival of Dracula, Birch's father allegedly threatened a castmate with physical harm, and it resulted in her being fired and not rehired for a while. The actor that was threatened remains unnamed to this day, but allegedly was involved in a scene with Birch in which he was directed to rub her back. According to Birch's father, Birch was uncomfortable with this, and the threat was meant to convey that. The director did not agree with the father's behavior, and Birch was of course fired. This isn't the only reason why Birch rarely worked though. According to the American Beauty star, she spent some time in her youth upset and upsetting others intentionally. Vanessa Marquez was known for various film credits, but most of her fame came from the TV show ER, in which Marquez starred alongside George Clooney. Marquez would actually go on to accuse Clooney of having a hand in blacklisting Vanessa from ER and Hollywood in general. Vanessa was in the TV show for 3 seasons before being let go and written off. It was unclear why, but Vanessa soon shared that George Clooney and other actors on the show had acted inappropriately towards her on the TV show set. Not saying that Clooney was the one doing it, she just named him and said that she experienced bad behavior every day while working on the show. Vanessa says she complained to someone about the on-set inappropriate actions and claims that that was the reason why she was taken off the show, so she said she was fired for complaining. George Clooney has directly acknowledged the accusations. In 2017, he said he had nothing to do with Vanessa being blacklisted and that he actually didn't even realize she was. Linda Fiorentino was at the beginning of her Hollywood journey and things looked promising. She had a considerable amount of credits in the 90s and early 2000s, including a role in the Men in Black movies, but now she has seemed to disappear and be considered a former actress. The reason for this sudden change might have had something to do with Dogma star Kevin Smith, who also wrote and directed that film. Smith went on record and destroyed Linda's reputation. She had been labeled difficult to work with, among other things. Nowadays, many people actually disagree with these claims and consider her to have been very hardworking and talented. At the time though, she just didn't have enough star power to come back from the claims set against her. Charlie Sheen was once on top of the world, even reported to have been paid just under $2 million per episode while starring in the show 2.5 Men, but he soon was blacklisted and pushed out of Hollywood, partly because of his own actions, but also former co-star and ex-wife Denise Richards accused Sheen of bad behavior, and that only added more reason to keep the man out of the game. In the year 2000, Denise Richards and Charlie Sheen met on the set of Good Advice and then began a serious relationship the next year after Richards guest starred on Spin City. The pair would end up getting married and having 2 kids, but a few years later, in early 2006, Richards ended up filing for divorce, and a few months after that, taking out a restraining order against her former husband. The order required Sheen to stay 300 yards away from Richards, and he could only see their children if he was supervised. The reason Richards felt she needed the order was because she claimed that Sheen had spoken violently towards her and was rough with her physically. Sheen would later go on to be accused of similar things by other women he went on to date and marry. The actor did other things all by himself though that ended up getting him blacklisted. He used substances that are not legal and would behave poorly on sets and more. The actor had said in 2018 that he is trying to turn things around. Kevin Spacey is mainly known for his starring role on the TV show House of Cards, but like a real House of Cards, once the public caught wind of past actions, everything came crashing down. 2017 was the year of Spacey's fall from grace. Anthony Rapp, who you might recognize from the movie Rent or the TV series Star Trek Discovery, accused Spacey of acting inappropriately towards him when he was underage. The incident would have happened a few decades before 2017. Spacey was of course fired from the show House of Cards very soon after the news was released, and the show continued on for one more season without him. Rapp was not the only actor that accused Spacey of the inappropriate behavior. Soon more actors were coming forward with stories, and Spacey went to court. He was ultimately found not guilty, but the damage to his career had already been done and the actor was blacklisted. Sandra Locke was a big star in the late 60s, early 70s, and just didn't act but also directed too. She starred in films alongside Clint Eastwood, and the pair really hit it off, dating for quite a while. They were the it couple, starring in films like The Outlaw Josie Wales and Every Which Way But Loose. Unfortunately, the pair eventually broke up, and it was disastrous for Locke's career. They broke up in 1989, but it kind of dragged on for a few years. Eastwood had more overall star power and connections to major Hollywood elites than Locke did, or even if they were both connected to someone, it's assumed that the person would then take Eastwood's side instead of hers. Soon, Locke wasn't getting much work and was essentially blacklisted from Hollywood. While it has never been confirmed technically, many people, including Locke, believe that her blacklisting was because of Eastwood, that he used his power and connections to effectively end her career, because after the breakup, her working life went up in flames and his was completely fine. Isaiah Washington had all the potential to make it big. He was was starring in a main role on an incredibly popular TV show, Dr. Preston Burke on Grey's Anatomy. He had a number of film credits under his belt before that and was just an all-around good guy, until he threw it all away. According to the book by Lynette Rice, How to Save a Life, the inside story of Grey's Anatomy, a fight between Washington and McDreamy, or Patrick Dempsey, broke out on set and caused the domino effect that led to Washington's firing and blacklisting from Hollywood. According to interviews in the book, one of the men was late to set one day, so the next day the other decided to get payback and be late instead. Tensions got high and soon the two men were brawling in studio. Washington apparently pushed Dempsey up against a wall and began shouting in his face, and it wasn't until Washington brought the F word that is bad, that is used to describe gay people, that everything stopped. The word was used in context of another actor in the show who was known to be gay, so really bad. Washington ended up apologizing, but then used the word again at the Golden Globes, and very publicly in an interview.
Number 10. Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase, a popular man thanks to National Lampoon and Saturday Night Live, but he returned to the mainstream when he starred as Pierce Hawthorne in the hit sitcom Community. I genuinely love this show. Chevy? Not so much, and it would appear that his Community co-stars would agree with that statement. Around the middle of the show's runtime, Chevy started to complain about his co-stars, especially Mr. Glover. It became apparent that he was more than just angry with Donald, and it was eventually fired for using racial slurs against him. According to himself, aka Troy Barnes, Chevy would often make inappropriate jokes either aimed at him or as a general way to disrupt a scene. Joel McHale told People that before he was fired, Chevy was complaining about his character on the show and how he was being portrayed. The entire cast reminded him that there was no contract keeping him there, which may have been part of what set him off on set. His character was written out in truly humiliating fashion, with his life ending after feeding his geese way too much, if you know what I mean. He was playing with them. Number 9. Tom Hardy. Mad Max Fury Road is a forgotten gem in cinema history. It featured little to no CGI despite having some awesome visuals, and it featured some pretty cool performances from its cast like Nicholas Hoult, Charlize Theron, and Tom Hardy. Charlize and Tom played the main characters, Furiosa and Max, and while their on-screen characters end up working together in the end, on set, it was a very different vibe. Tom had a bad habit of showing up late all the time, meanwhile Charlize was a brand new mother who would be there on time every day while their kids were forced to be taken care of by someone else. In a book called Red, Sweat, and Chrome, The Wild and True Story of Mad Max Fury Road, the writer Kyle Buchanan shared an instance on set between Charlize and Tom. Everyone was on set, 8 AM, ready to shoot, except for Mr. Hardy. But at that point, Charlize took her place and stayed there until Tom showed up 3 hours later. Now, she didn't move a muscle, and according to the crew, she was beyond furious. When Tom finally showed up, she asked him how he could be so disrespectful and said that they should fine this See You Next Tuesday $100,000 for every minute that he held up the crew. She didn't say see you next Tuesday. I really wish I could say the word that did set him off. The word she did say set Tom off, and he rushed up to her and pulled out the whole "what did you just say to me" type thing. Yeah, he didn't say it like that. He's a big tough guy. Oh, big tough I can't hear so good. Overall, Charlize felt pretty threatened by Tom on set and had an assistant follow her around as a buffer between them. When the shoot wrapped, the tension was gone and things seemed to have gotten better, but the difficult shoot combined with the stress is probably why Tom Hardy was never brought back for a Mad Max 2. Number 8. Jeremy Piven. Best known for his role as the timekeeper in Spy Kids 4D, All the Time in the World, and nothing else, unfortunately has an overall rough reputation in the world of Hollywood, mainly being pegged as a very difficult man to work with. Several of his co-stars over the years have called out his wild behavior. When Kim Kardashian made a cameo appearance on some indie show called Entourage, I don't know, I've never heard of it, he was very pushy towards her, trying to get her contact information. Several past girlfriends and co-stars like January Jones, Kelly Brook, and Rachel Hunter have all agreed that this guy plays the numbers game. He'll go out and get as many phone numbers as he can so that at the end of the night he can just text all of them at once and see who responds first. The most troubling incident came when he made a guest appearance on the sitcom Will and Grace, playing Grace's ex-boyfriend. Deborah Messing, who plays Grace, recalled to Andy Cohen, Watch What Happens Live, that her experience with Piven was just plain gross. She claims to have locked lips with a lot of boys in her time on stage and screen, and on the first day of rehearsals, Jeremy tried to get French with her, claiming that he tried to shove his tongue down to her heart. She told told him to take it easy, but apparently he refused. Not a cool move at all, and very gross indeed. This man is so mean and self-centered that he once tipped a waiter with a DVD of The Entourage. Seriously, what? Is it like a late night cable television show or something? Ooh. I'm just kidding, I know what The Entourage is. Number 7, Mike Myers. Yeah, baby, it's very shagadelic that Mike's on this list. Despite being a Canadian treasure and the man behind some comedy cult classics like Austin Powers and Wayne's World, this guy's actually apparently a menace on set. According to his Cat in the Hat co-star Amy Hill, Mike had handlers dress his entire trailer and his work area was entirely covered with tenting. Apparently he just didn't want anybody to see him physically, which, hey man, that's fair. If I was in that cat suit with a bum crack in it, I'd probably want to hide too. His reputation as a difficult Donnie might have something to do with Hollywood blacklisting him entirely, except for his recent show The Pentaverate, which was a show where he basically played half the cast because, yeah, he couldn't get anybody else to get on the show, I guess. It might be that or it might be the Love Guru, who knows? Number 6, Bill Murray. Now, Bill Murray has had many public feuds with many co-stars over the years that would qualify him as an entry on this list. One of his more famous feuds was with Charlie's Angel co-star Lucy Liu, but I already covered that in part 1 of this list, so today I'm going to talk about his long-standing feud with his late Ghostbusters co-star Harold Ramis. Harold and Bill famously starred opposite of each other in the classic Ghostbusters series, but they had been working together before and after the project, with Harold acting as the director on a lot of projects starring Bill Murray. The moment he was outed as one of the meanest men on set was while filming Groundhog Day. According to cast and crew, Harold and Bill would regularly get into screaming matches over the way that a scene should be filmed or how a line should be said. According to Harold, who passed away in 2014, Bill would show up late to set, well past his call time. Following the film, the two did not speak to each other for decades. It wasn't until Harold was heading out the door that Bill decided to reconcile the friendship, but by then it was a little bit too late. Of course, in the years since, several co-stars, especially female ones, have come forward to call out his extreme temper and snappiness on set, but we could do a whole top 10 about things that Bill Murray has done. Number 5, Bruce Willis. Now, Kevin Smith is a director, actor, and an absolute geek in the best of ways. In 2010, he collaborated with Bruce Willis on an action comedy called Cop Out, a story about two cops who get sucked into wild action-packed shenanigans. I don't know, I've never seen the movie. According to Kevin Smith, his time on set as a director of the project was not good, and it was mostly due to his childhood hero Bruce Willis telling him to snap out of it every time that he would mention his admiration. He went on to claim that Bruce was difficult to work with on set in general, and that a lot of the time it just felt like he was messing up scenes on purpose to throw him off. Apparently, every time Kevin would try to, do his job and direct Bruce Willis, he would just kind of tell him that he had been working in the industry for 25 years and that there was nothing that Kevin could tell him he didn't already know. He then revealed on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno back in 2012 that Bruce had actually confronted him after filming one day and asked him if he wanted to take a swing. The situation escalated to the point that Bruce didn't appear for promotional events or photo shoots, meaning that he was photoshopped into most of the pictures that you see him with co-star Tracy Morgan, who Kevin claims is actually the only reason he didn't back out of the project. Since Willis was diagnosed with aphasia, the two have been able to patch things up, with Kevin apologizing for his petty complaints. Number 4, Ryan Gosling. The Notebook is considered to be one of the better romantic movies ever made in Hollywood. Oddly enough though, the on-screen couple didn't get along at all during their shoot. Turns out they would constantly fight on set, and they seemed to have completely opposite ideas on how several of the scenes should play out. Ryan Gosling especially was a little bit of a problem. One day in particular was pretty exciting for anyone who wasn't involved. All drama watchers were sipping their tea. Ryan called over the director and demanded that Rachel was replaced by another actress to read her lines. In front of 150 crew members, he claimed that Rachel just wasn't giving him anything to work with, and the two would constantly yell at each other. Their toxic on-set feud somehow morphed into a relationship that lasted for like 2 years, but anyone who worked on the set blames them for the constant schedule setbacks and creating just a terrible work environment overall. So, I don't know, he seems better now that he's been in Barbie. Number 3, William Shatner. This one is for all of you Trekkies out there. Live long and prosper. That's all I got. I'm not as geeky as one may think, but I'm well aware of this long-standing feud between William Shatner and his Star Trek co-star George Takei. This feud has lasted for over 50 years, and according to George, it boils down to William being a prima donna attention hog the entire time he was on set. Over the years, George has always been vocal about his opinion on his fellow Star Trek cast and crew. Most of the time he has nothing but nice things to say and claims to have made lifelong friends from the project. But there is, of course, one that he despises, and it's William Shatner, who was the bane of everyone's existence on set. He loved being the center of attention and was apparently very self-involved. He wanted everyone to know who he was. William actually responded to these claims, telling people that he believed that Star Trek co-stars were damaging his good name for publicity's sake. But why would people who've barely acted in 30 years suddenly want to bash you for fame and glory? I don't know if anyone has noticed or not, but William hasn't done much either in a while other than, petition to go to space for real, so good for him. Number 2, Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx has been a huge star in the world of Hollywood over the years, working with several acclaimed directors in basically every genre, but like most actors, Jamie had to start somewhere. And that somewhere was in the film Any Given Sunday from 1999 alongside Al Pacino, Cameron Diaz, Dennis Quaid, and Mr. LL Cool J. Cool J and Jamie played teammates in the football-centric flick, and not only do their characters constantly fight on screen, but behind the scenes, they had an actual brawl that ended in the Miami County Police being called in. During one scene, the two were scripted to fight and filmed the first 2 takes as planned, but just, faking it. However, some offset beef made its way in front of the camera when Jamie struck Cool J for real, splitting his lip open, and an all-out beatdown took place, leaving Jamie unconscious and in the hospital. They had to stop production because they just weren't sure when Jamie would actually, come back to be able to film his scenes. When Foxx did return to set, it was with a small crew of friends and his manager. Waiting to greet them was LL Cool J and half of Brooklyn, according to the director, who stated that the tension was only settled after the real-life football players that the characters were based on came onto set and took care of business. And at number 1, Sarah Jessica Parker. For this entry, I'm not allowed to say the title of the show that Sarah and her co-star Kim Cattrall were on, so I'll be referring to it as Schmecks and the City, okay? Take the Schm and you know what, you'll figure it out. The Schmecks and the City series is remembered for its larger-than-life fashion and flings. But even better than the show itself was apparently the dramatic onset feud between Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall. There was merely speculation for a long time, but their feud was confirmed when Kim was left out of the HBO Max revival, and just like that. The feud reportedly stems from Sarah receiving a massive bonus when she was given an executive producer title in season 2. When the other girls found out, Kim attempted to negotiate a new salary. Apparently, the other cast members found that out and they thought it was petty and just basically shunned her on set, refusing to sit with her at lunch. According to Kim, she began to face hardships in her personal life and was having a difficult time coping. The feud was surface level, and as time went on, things got better from what we can tell.